Workplace violence. It's all over the news. By now, we've all seen the headlines about the disgruntled employee bringing a gun to work. But the real story is harassment in the workplace. In its various forms, harassment affects more people in the workplace than violence. Over 16 million workers each year. In fact, many of those highly publicized incidents of violence started with workplace harassment. Watch and see. When we hear the word harassment, we immediately think of sexual harassment. But there are many other types of harassment as well. In general, harassment is any language or behavior that could be offensive or disturbing to someone.
A lot of people just are horrible at doing their job.
The subject of harassing remarks, gestures, or actions varies, but can include race, religion, national origin, age, sex, marital status, sexual orientation, or handicap. And, as you might guess, harassment and discrimination can be closely related. Wherever you find one, you may find the other. Remarks such as, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," can be considered harassment.
Excuse me?
If this sort of attitude influences decisions regarding employment, such as hiring, raises, and promotions, then it's age discrimination. Racial slurs and ethnic jokes continue unfair stereotypes, which can give rise to discrimination. They single people out on the basis of race or national origin and can influence important decisions in the workplace. Some people try to dismiss things like verbal abuse and threatening behavior by saying it's part of the job or it comes with the territory. Others think that victims of harassment are just being too sensitive. But threats, verbal abuse, and other forms of harassment can create a hostile work environment. Even innocent jokes, gags, and horseplay can lead to hurt feelings, or physical injuries if things don't go as planned. When harassment goes unreported and uninvestigated, violence can be the final outcome. So we need to put a stop to harassment before things go too far. Let's start with the basics. Teasing and jokes between co-workers often start with innocent intentions. Other times, verbal jabs are used to test boundaries or push buttons.
Well, I do know what his problem was. I mean, he was black.
Unfortunately, this kind of behavior can quickly cross the line into verbal abuse, such as mocking, bullying, and intimidation. When this behavior becomes hurtful or offensive, it can be considered harassment.
Okay, I gotta go.
Sometimes people don't realize that others find their behavior disturbing or offensive. So it's important to let someone know when they cross your line. This is the best way to prevent misunderstandings.
Earlier about the black people, you're talking about now Mexicans.
Remember, what may be amusing to one person could be taken very seriously by another. For instance, ethnic jokes can be taken personally by members of the ethnic group that is the brunt of the joke. Only one person needs to be offended for it to be considered harassment. People don't usually mean any harm when they play practical jokes, but sometimes these gags can backfire. Hurt feelings or even painful injuries could be the end result. And if a practical joke was intended to single out or make an example of someone, it could be considered harassment. Remember, it's important to tell someone when you find their behavior offensive. But if you ask them to stop and the harassment continues, don't get involved in a shouting match. If an argument develops, stay calm. Suggest getting a neutral person involved. If all else fails, walk away from the situation.
Now, I think you need to get this closet straightened out.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, you won't be able to end the problem. And it may even grow worse. So we need to take a look at what can happen when verbal harassment gets more intense and what we can do to stop it.
Straighten people out. Tell them they've got to do it. There's no urgency.
Threats are the most common example of intense verbal harassment. They can be veiled, conditional, or direct. Veiled or hidden threats suggest that someone intends to do harm without actually spelling it out.
If the place burned down, I'd be happy with that. What? Yeah, man, I don't care less. If good or something plans, I don't care.
You need to know.
Conditional threats are intended to scare people into doing something or not doing something.
Get it done today, or else.
Direct threats are clear statements of intention to do harm.
Or I'm really going to get you. I'm telling you. Leave me alone. I'm going to get...
The best way to put a stop to this type of behavior is to report it. So, report all threats, direct, conditional, or veiled. In fact, you should report any kind of verbal abuse or other form of harassment you receive or witness. Sometimes, people don't want to be a tattletale and get anyone in trouble by reporting incidents. Others just don't want to get involved. But these kinds of problems rarely go away on their own. Making a report is your best opportunity to stop the harassing behavior once and for all. It's also the best way to prevent the situation from developing into something more serious, such as violence, stalking, even murder. So, report incidents of harassment to your supervisor, your human resources department, or your company's security personnel.
Yeah, that's something that...
Some companies even have an independent hotline or employee assistance program that let you make confidential reports. Local law enforcement agencies should also be notified of incidents involving threats of violence or physical assaults. Since verbal abuse